All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of Healing with Nama. I'm Casey, and today I'm so excited to have Anita, the manifesting money coach, right? Manifesting money podcast coach, on today to talk about what she does and her mission, everything that she's doing. Anita is a money mindset coach, and her mission is to teach as many people as possible about shifting their mindset when it comes to money. So I'm really, really excited to have you here. I actually found you on TikTok. I was scrolling on TikTok and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's in San Diego. I'm from San Diego.
Yeah.
I'm like, she's close. Like, this is somebody I could connect to, because she doesn't seem so far away. So
Mm.
I was like, oh my gosh, let me connect with her. So do you want to just share a little bit more about yourself, maybe?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for the introduction again. It's always awesome to be able to get on here and share the behind the scenes of everything and really pick and pull questions because, again, a lot of people can see stuff on social media and it looks so picture perfect or, oh, they've always been successful or have always had X, Y, and Z, but it's just not true. So, anytime I have an opportunity to tell people all of the things that happen in the background and that are still happening, it helps so much to really bring awareness around money mindset, and again shifting, like you said, those beliefs to limiting ones to abundant beliefs and just having an inner knowing that money is an unlimited resource that you can tap into at any given point in time. So you hit the nail on the head there. So my name is Anita. I am a money mindset coach. I teach people about law of attraction, manifestation, how their thoughts create their reality. If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hands, and you can do that with money too. This is prop money, by the way, but I always have it in my hands because it's so fun. But yeah, I teach people how to do that with money, and we've just been on a mission to really help other people break down their money blocks and understand that money is just energy.
Yeah. And I love, what you're doing. You have already such a bubbly personality. So I think that attracts a lot of people because you're just, very lively and just, like super relatable, I think. And even someone like me, I'm more of an introvert, so I don't have that like, expressive personality, but I attract people like that in my life. My all
Mm,
my friends are extroverts because, it just kind of works. And so I think that's kind of how I ended up just kind of like gravitating towards you because I'm like, wow, she's so awesome. Like, she's doing all the things that I want to be doing. She's has her
mm,
podcast going, like, and just how open you are about how you started, why you're doing it. And I feel like you're really connected to just wanting to help people. And I think that's another reason why I just really wanted to like connect with you, is because I'm like, she really cares about people. She's not just
mm,
trying to get people's money. She's not trying to just, there's a lot of people on TikTok who are not very genuine.
mm,
And I feel that you are one of those people that, I feel like you're probably the same person off camera that you are on camera. And so it makes you a little bit more trustworthy, for people,
mm.
because it's like she's not being fake or phony. Like, this is how she is all the time. So I'm just so happy that you saw. So for those who don't know, I made a TikTok and I was like, this is Anita. I do edit her video. And I was like, I am manifesting that she is going to be on my podcast because I want her to talk about money mindset
Mm.
and, all this different stuff. And only two people had seen it. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to let it go because it's not really doing anything. And then one day I opened it and you had left a comment and you had left like the email information, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was so excited. I called my sister and I was crying. I was like, it
Oh,
worked, it really works. Like, I'm so excited. Like, this is such a good thing. I finally found something that makes me happy. And so, that's
mm,
how it ended up being like this. So um yeah, I'm just really grateful. And me even making that video is a testament to your work,
mm.
because I wouldn't have had the confidence to think that I could manifest if I hadn't have been listening to your podcast and your show and just kind of saying like, just say that it's going to happen and manifest it and believe in your manifestations. So
Mm.
I want to thank you, just face to face, kind of face to face.
Yeah, of
Thank
course.
you for your work.
Yeah, there's a couple things that you said that I want to break down. That first things first, that really whatever you see in me is what is in you. And that's for everybody, right? Anybody that you're looking at social media, or, I noticed that you point out that I'm an extrovert and you're an introvert. What's so funny is that I feel like I've been really flipping my role. Like I've been such an introvert lately. And it really just goes to show that it really boils down to how we view ourselves. And anytime that we are limiting ourselves, it's simply because maybe we do believe it's possible. We just don't believe it's possible for us.
Right.
And so that's why I'm really big on connecting and collaborating with other people. And like you said, you notice that I'm genuine, that I really care, and I want to help people. I want to point that out because you see that in me, and somebody else may see me and they might not have the same perception. Right. And the fact that you see that in me is actually something that's very deep rooted inside of you. And that is why we're like attract like energies. Mm-hmm. And again, why I did see that video, because we do get so many comments and we do get so many messages. And honestly, it's kind of one of those things where I really have so much gratitude for especially calls and stuff like this and podcasts like this, because I know I'm going to get to a point where I can't do it. And I know I'm going to get to a point where I can't message everybody back. And I know I'm not going to see every video. And it breaks my heart when I do get messages like that. And they're like, I can't believe you're reading this. And I'm like, oh, do people think I don't read the messages?
Right.
But it is, again, it goes back to like kind of the belief that if something's not manifesting into the physical form, it's most likely because, one, we don't believe it's possible. Maybe we don't believe it's possible for us, or we're actually scared of it happening.
Yes.
And so talking about, again, all of the messages and all the people, and even like, there are people out there who aren't very genuine, who are doing this for the wrong reasons. Right. And even just being at peace with the fact of like for me personally, I had to get over that belief. Like, even if people do view me like that it's not going to alter the way that I feel about myself or how I view myself.
Right.
And so that's exactly what I just wanted to bring up from what you just said. And again, I want to thank you for allowing me to share this part, because, who knows how long I'll be able to hop on stuff like this.
Yeah. I think it's important for people to get to know you as a person and not just kind of maybe get caught up in the manifesting part, and just listening to what you do, and not like, you had to work your way to get to here. So I think for people, even me, sometimes things seem unattainable, like you said. So it's possible, but not for me. And so to hear people talk about how they got to the place that they're at is helpful, because, it's like, okay, maybe I can, maybe it's not so far out of my reach, because it just didn't happen overnight. They did this and they did that, and this is how they got to this place. So I think it's really important to share that part as well. I wanted to talk to you about money and how we may be blocking our money. Like, why do we even need to think about changing our mindset around money?
Yeah, there's so many different avenues when it comes to money blocks. Again, a lot of it really boils down to the things that we're saying about money and the things that we're doing around our money. So I'll kind of break down some of the most common ones that I see and the questions that I get the most. So the question that I get the most is, how do I manifest money? And you have to understand that we are always manifesting, right? We are always attracting whatever it is that our subconscious mind believes to be true. So your subconscious mind creates 95% of your reality, and your conscious mind creates 5%. Wow. So even going back to like a lot of work, it was a lot of work for me to get to this place, but it was mostly because I had to keep going back and bringing all of the subconscious beliefs to the surface and consciously shifting them over and over and over and over and over again to believe that money really was an unlimited resource. Is that when I did get an unexpected bill in the mail, that I would have enough to pay it, or if my car broke down, that means that something good is coming. Like, you really have to keep reprogramming these new beliefs over and over and over and over again. And even when the whole external world is telling you that that's not true, that's not possible, well, you're not rich. Look at your bank account. Well, you're not rich. Look where you work at, or what kind of clothes that you have, or what's your hair look like. There's just so many things that we let the external world allow how we feel about ourselves. And so the work is to get super clear on all the things that we are physically saying. So we're like even saying stuff like, oh, I'm broke. Oh, I can't go because I don't have money. Something that I used to do unconsciously before I knew any of this was that joking about being broke was actually attracting more of that into my life. So I was always the friend to like be a jokester and like say things like, oh, well, you paying for my food? Oh, or well, hope my card doesn't get declined, or do you guys have any discounts? Right? Like just like little stuff like that. I would be joking, but it was very obvious that I wasn't. And it was also attracting stuff like that to happen into my reality, right? And so it's not only what you're saying, but it's a lot also about all the things that you're unconsciously doing. So second most common questions that we get is, how do I attract more money? And, when you say more money, God, universe, source doesn't know how much more is, right? You may say, I want more money, and it may show up as $1 on the ground, or it's going to show up as somebody paying for your coffee, or maybe it's going to show up as a bonus at work, right? But even though those things are awesome, you still don't have enough.
Right.
So it's all about getting super clear in the stories. And again, the things that you're unconsciously doing. So if you're somebody who, as soon as you wake up in the morning, the first thing that you do is grab your phone and you look at all your messages. You look at your bank account. Maybe your bank account's not where you want to be, and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to get up and I got to go to work because I don't have money, right? And these are all things that I would do every single day. And I wasn't conscious how me working every single day, every hour of the day, and putting all the things that I wanted on the back burner was actually creating this vicious cycle of manifesting more things that I didn't want, the lifestyle that I didn't want, opposed to attracting not only money, but just, again, the lifestyle. Because even when I did get the money, I would still be in that vicious cycle because in my brain, this wasn't normal. It wasn't normal for me to have over $1,000 in my bank account, right? That's why I would spend it like that. Or I'd be like, oh my gosh, I gotta hurry up and spend it because, who knows when I'm gonna have this type of money again.
Right.
And yeah, a lot of people just get stuck in those vicious cycles.
Yeah, I think that resonates a lot with me because I am in kind of that cycle of like living paycheck to paycheck, and like as soon as I get my check, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna make it disappear in like 3 days, and then 3 days later I'm like, dang, I did not do a good job of that. Like it's and so now it's like a whole week and a half where I'm kind of struggling a little bit because now I've spent or circulated the money and haven't been conscious of it and all that different things. So I think I am working my way off of that hamster wheel, but I am in that position where I do have a 9 to 5. It is sustaining me. I feel like I have to work because I need the money, and I'm not in a place where I just feel like, oh, I can quit my job and I'll be fine, because it's in the past hasn't worked. So I think you talk a lot about that too, of like, what proof do you have that that will be true? And so right now I'm kind of working on shifting that, because I'm in that space of like, okay, well, the last time I quit my job without a job, I was struggling for months and months and months. So now I cannot do that. I have to make sure that I can work and work more hours, and so that I can fund my business and all that kind of stuff. And so how can someone like me kind of reset that mindset, or how can they work their way towards a different mindset, I guess?
Yeah. Let me ask you this question and then I'll go from there. What's something that you would, or a few things that you would be doing more on a consistent basis if you didn't have to worry about money, like physical things that you would be doing?
I would be definitely getting like mani pedis more often because I love doing that. That's my favorite.
Uh,
That's like spa days are my favorite thing. So I would have way more spa days, at places that I actually wanted to go versus, what's the cheapest place to get a massage, like
mm,
where I actually want to go. Um, and just kind of, I think living life on my own schedule somewhat, not always having to clock in and be on someone else's schedule. I think that's my main thing. It's like I don't want to have to, answer to anybody else. I want to make my
mm,
own schedule. And if I have to do something else that day, I want to be able to clear my schedule.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, perfect chills. Like that's exactly what like going back to when I was in that position, it was the same thing. And I still do the same thing right now, right? Like nothing's different. And that's the crazy part about that. Nothing's different about what I was doing then opposed to what I'm doing now. Like, right when you hit six figures, okay, now what am I going to do to get seven? It's the same thing that I'm doing now. It's only just different external things. So, like, exactly what you just said. So, going back to like getting your nails done, that was actually one of the first things that I started to do when I really did start to up level my finances. Because, right, you're most, oh, it's 222 right now. You're most likely telling yourself that I can get my nails done or I can pay my bill, right? And so the more that you can tell, like if you don't have physically enough money to do so, then it's so important to create it, right? It'd be awesome if I made an extra $100 through one of my programs this weekend. But if I didn't, I'm still going to drive for Postmates or whatever just so I can get my nails done because I know that's what I would be doing if I had more money. And so the real trick is like in the beginning, it was a lot of creating money in order to make this new lifestyle, right? And that's the biggest thing is that if money doesn't have a place to go, right, then it's not going to show up. So anytime we say that I want more money, whatever, one getting specific on how much more is, right? Because we're really thinking of this luxurious lifestyle that's only like a couple $100 more than what like we're usually spending right now. And then it's about building from there. And so, what I would do if I was you, just even practicing that, like when you're off, practicing being off. We were just talking about this, my team and I at lunch, of like how important it is to like tune out when you're not working, right? Because again, we think that when we have more money or when we even have our own business, I see people all the time who have their own businesses that are very successful, but then they get stuck because they're making money and they're like, oh my gosh, I gotta answer everybody. Oh my gosh, I gotta do this. Oh my gosh, someone needs help with this. Um, um, let me step away from my whole family, right now to go take care of this email, right? And if you can really tap into that now and just again keep telling your stories, your new stories as you do that and say, you know what, I believe that when I take a day off that more money is going to come to me. I believe that more money is going to come to me when I work on my course instead of picking up an extra shift, right? And that's when the belief will it starts to build. It may not manifest right away, but it will start to build and you'll get all of the signs.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I think I am working to balance that because if I'm not at my 9 to 5, I'm working on building up my business and I feel like I don't get a lot of a break, you know.
Mm,
I have one day off of work during the week and during that one day of off, I'm working on business stuff. And so
mm,
especially now because it's just me doing everything. It takes up a lot of my time. So I did burn myself out, about a week or so ago. I just was like, I did too much. I did not give myself
mm,
any breaks. I was working long hours trying to put together, different things. And I had to stop and like, okay, remember what Anita said? Like,
mm,
even if you are not working, money can still manifest. Like, you cannot burn yourself out before you even, your business even takes off. So
mm,
just remembering, like, I don't have to chase money, I guess.
mm.
I don't have to chase it, is really, really helpful. So, yeah, yeah, I think that's just really helpful. What you said is just like being mindful of doing the things that you would be doing then,
Mm.
if you had the money, doing it now.
Yeah. And
go ahead.
The perfect example is your virtual assistant that we're talking about. Like you looking for a virtual assistant is the work. Like even coming up to like money beliefs and stuff like that. It's like money's the last thing we got to worry about, because you don't know if the person that you're even looking at is a good fit. You don't know if their time like matches with yours, like, right? And it's like when you find the person, it's the same scenario, right? Like every single time that I up leveled, it was like, okay, this is how much I'd have to make every single week in order to pay X, Y, and Z. And the money always, always, always showed up because one, there was reason for it. And two, it was like, I truly believed that me hiring a virtual assistant was what's going to help me get to the next level. And when I seen proof that, oh, I did make more money this week, or I made 2 sales, or, I didn't have to work as hard, right? It starts to build the belief in not only yourself, but also the other person that's working with you too.
Right. Okay. So what are the steps? Like if we were to break it down into steps, what would be the steps that we could take to rebuild that money mindset?
So the first step is to just become conscious and become aware, right? Again, of those stories that you're telling yourself over and over and over again. So we were kind of talking about this on the workshop today. Is that, again, anytime you're experiencing a low or negative emotion, it's because you're telling yourself you cannot have, do, or achieve something. So let's say that you really want to go on a vacation, right? But you can't because you thought you were going to get a bonus this week and you didn't. And now you're like, wow, that means that I can't go on vacation, right? So it lowers your vibration. And so if you can get super clear on the things that you're telling yourself you cannot have, do, or achieve, that is where you want to start, right? You're finding out where the car is broken and you're getting the mechanic to fix it. So second part is to get super clear on where that belief came from, because we think that us not having enough money for rent or us being scared to quit the job that's no longer serving us has anything to do with, anything external, but it really doesn't. And there's people who are quote unquote more practical who would have way different beliefs about this. But I do have a podcast that talks about releasing jobs that no longer serve you and really giving both of the perceptions, right? Because if you really look at it and you're like telling yourself, well, if I release this, then I won't make enough money doing this, right? But if you look at the numbers and you start to be like, okay, well, this is how much I'm getting hourly. And if I only made 1 sale of this one day, I would be set for the whole entire week, right? It's so much work for you in the beginning to start to shift the narrative and build a belief in the other stories. So even though you're going to make a plan and you're going to piece things together and say, I would have to sell this amount, or I would have to do this on vacation, or I'd have to do X, Y, and Z. Those things are all helping you build the belief. And then taking action on the ideas and the inspired action that comes up is the third step, because a lot of people get stuck because they're telling themselves like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. First off, you're the only one that knows what to do. And if you try to ask somebody else, what should I do? What should I do? And really rely on somebody else opposed to like what's coming up for you, then you're going to take action on things that are probably most likely out of alignment. So I'm trying to give an example here, like, because I was taking action, but I wasn't taking action based off alignment. I was taking action off of like ego and scarcity.
Right.
So I would, let's say, like even going to marketing, right? I would post every single day and I would do this and I'm doing all the strategy and I'm doing all the structure, but for some reason, the money's not flowing, right? And the truth was because I wasn't working on the core belief, which was that I was actually really scared to make money because I had made a sale before and I had launched a program before, but I didn't like how it made me feel that I wasn't giving them enough information.
Oh, okay.
So that's where the balance of the both starts to come in, and really just identifying where these beliefs came from, or what's a belief? Where did it come from? And what can you do to physically break the cycle?
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So get clear on what the belief is and then like where it came from. So if you say where it came from, do you mean like how, when could that have come up? Like could it have been a recent thing or is it in childhood? Like I know you said like 0 to 7, right? Like from when you're born to you're 7 years old. So can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yep. So like all of the beliefs that we have about ourselves, the world, and money have developed ever since we were little kids. So to be exact, the ages 0 to 7 years old. And some of those stories have actually developed even before you were born. So this is why we're really big in hypnosis in our Manifesting Money Academy. Each person gets a personal hypnosis. You can also just listen to pre-recorded audios and it'll, again, just kind of think of it as a guided meditation where somebody's just walking you back of like, remember when you were 5 years, like think of the first memory that you have about money, right? So the reason why hypnosis is so powerful is because hypnosis taps directly into the subconscious mind, right? So if I say, think of a time that you went on a vacation when you were little, right? Everybody on here is listening to that, and they're going back and they're digging into their subconscious mind to bring that belief to the surface, and you can maybe start to see some images in your head, bring back some memories. And it's a lot of work to do that. So the hypnosis is like a way that you can physically guide yourself to go back to those times. So for example, when I was a little girl, my mom told me that I had to order something from the dollar menu because we didn't have enough money for the full size items at McDonald's. And it made me develop the belief that everybody else can have the nice things. They can have the full menus, but I have to play small. And so that's why it kept coming back to the surface for me in my adult life, right? I kept saying, well, everybody else has really nice clothes, but I just gotta shop at the thrift store, or or just like little things like that, right? And it wasn't that I didn't have the desire for the nicer things. It was mostly I was just really scared of, one, making that in quote unquote investment, and then two, physically breaking the cycle. So it's like, until you break that cycle, it's still going to keep coming to the surface over and over and over and over again. And that's why even when people release jobs that don't serve with them and then they go back into the same cycle, like for my mom, for example, every time she would get fired from her jobs for very specific reasons, and it keeps happening. Like there would be crazy scenarios where people would have, like, I don't know, fights, and then my mom would get dragged into it. And it was always the same story, but different places of where she worked at. And I'm like, Mom, it's a cycle, it's a cycle, it's a cycle. But you can't see it as much when you're in it until you're on the outside looking in. And that's why it's really important to go break down and look at all the times. I think relationships is a really good example, right? It seems like I'm dating the same person over and over and over again until you start to say, hey, you can't treat me that way. Or, hey, I'm not just going to be gung-ho on every single person that says that I'm beautiful, right? And I'm really going to see if I like them or if I even have interest in them, instead of just really going all in just because someone said that you're worthy, right? And so that's a prime example of the cycles that repeat over and over again until you bring them to the surface.
Yeah. I think that's important too, because like you said, some of them are hidden. So really like thinking about why. I think that was a big thing for me when I started, my spiritual work, is like just asking why about so many things. Why do I have this belief about religion or about God? And so I think it's the same thing with like money. Why do I believe that the money won't come? Why do I believe that I need to be stressed about money all the time? And why do I believe that, I have to keep myself from doing the things that I really like because my family will look at me weird, or those types of things. And it's still difficult because I still have people around me who don't believe in manifesting money, who don't believe that money is an endless resource, and who are a part of my daily life. And when things do get a little tight, I have to maybe ask them for, a little bit of help. And it's just kind of like, well, then it's proving to them like that doesn't. So it's kind of this vicious cycle of like me trying to say out of my mouth, to people, to my parents, this is money is an endless resource and all these different things. But then having these challenges or whatever, or times when I don't necessarily have the money in my account, it kind of, I don't know what you want to say. What is it? Contrasts? There you go. Contradicts itself, So I think that's a big struggle for me, is being the person who is that breaker of the cycle or the curse or whatever, is difficult sometimes when you have, especially your parents, still kind of coming to you with that old mindset. So what types of things could I do in that scenario?
Yeah. So like for me, I had to just really distance myself from my family. And so what we talk a lot about is creating space. And so creating space doesn't necessarily mean have to cut everybody off, right? For me personally, it was the first time I ever learned boundaries, of learning like, hey, you can't just call me whenever. I'm at work right now. Just because I'm not working for somebody else, it doesn't mean that I'm not working on my business and you can call me whenever, right? It was really, again, going back to boundaries of what we can talk about when we are having a conversation, right? Opposed to what are you coming to me because you want advice? Are you coming to me because you need to vent? Are you coming to me because X, Y, and Z? Because if you're coming to me just because you're venting and no solution, right? I'm going to listen to you, but at the same time, like I can't energetically take this, right? And sometimes, sometimes it's easy to communicate. Sometimes, like for me personally, I just started to ignore everybody until I was like, gosh, I gotta like figure out how to communicate this to them and let them know how I felt. And then eventually it got easier. And so when we were on the phone, I said, hey, you upset me about this. Or even visiting family, right? Like it's always a trigger. Every time I would get back on a plane, knowing that I'm going home, it was a trigger because every single time I would go home, there'd be drama. It'd be nice that she's here for a few days, but then it's like, hey, can you go help me with this? Hey, can you go do this for me? Blah, blah, blah. And so one, you have to understand that anytime we're going through this shift, is that there's going to be tests and there's going to be quote unquote adversity. And so when you are first shifting these beliefs, that's the time that your subconscious mind is most sensitive. It's really going to be saying like, hey, that person just said, oh, you think that's going to work? And say like, does that affect you emotionally? Right? Because if it triggers you and if it makes you mad and upset or sad or a belief about yourself, it means that it's something you still have to work on. And so if somebody's making you upset and they say, hey, and you said, hey, this person doesn't believe in me, it's actually just amplifying the fact that you don't believe in yourself. And so again, it's really, you can use those triggers as a beautiful way to keep understanding where you need to work at more. So now every single time that my mom says, hey, Anita, tarot cards are the devil, and then I'm like, well, you can't tell me that because I've had so much proof and it's just not what I believe, right? I don't believe that psychics are from the like devil because I've just had so much help. I've had so much connections. Like imagine having a gift like that and somebody saying like you didn't ask for that gift. You know what I mean? Like that always just shook me when people would say that, because I was like, I feel like they're helping in their best way, Yeah. I mean, there's definitely people you want to go to that are more trustworthy and, more in tune. But at the same time, it was really just understanding. And it's like, okay, that's their belief and it's not mine. And when I didn't have the willpower to really or understand boundaries that much, I had to just tune out and just say like, okay, I just need some time to understand my beliefs opposed to their beliefs.
Yeah. That's really good. That's really good. That resonates so much with me, because almost everybody, especially growing up, almost everybody around me is still talking about how much money they don't have.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy to get caught up in talking like that too. So to remember to
Mm.
like, no, this is a boundary. Like, we're not going to get caught in this cycle anymore. We're not going to keep talking like that. Like, or just like you said, to just be quiet. I think that would probably be something that would help me, is to just not make myself a part of that conversation, and to not have certain conversations, just not bring certain things up. And I think that's hard for me because I want to share everything with everybody, like I want to like, look at this cool thing that I'm doing. It's so awesome and I'm having such good
Mm.
success. But it's not even that they don't support me, it's they don't understand.
Yeah.
So it kind of shakes me a little bit every time, because I'm like, why are you not as excited as I am about this? This is, look at this great thing, and you're just kind of like, and I'm just like, okay, so you know that's a good thing to remember, is just boundaries. Like, it's not that I can't talk to you at all, it's just I cannot talk to you about this.
Mm.
So thanks you for sharing that. That's really helpful.
Yeah. And we were kind of talking about this today too, is that it's like sometimes we want to fix people
Yeah.
because in our mind it makes us safe if they believe what I believe. So kind of going back to Christianity, like it's the same thing. Sometimes people are like pushing that on you because they're like, this person needs to believe this, right? And sometimes again, it's it's like knowing that people are always going to come around when they need to, right? And it may or it may not be in this lifetime. That's like my biggest mission and why I show up on social media every single day, because I'm like, I just really want my family to know like about these things, but I know that they're not ready. So I'm not going to push it on them. Like when I first started learning, don't get me wrong, I pushed on them so hard. I was like, don't say that. Like, hey, your thoughts create your reality. And I realized that they were not ready for this information. And now, 3 years later, actually 4 years later, guess who's coming around? Either asking for advice or just maybe they're hearing it from somebody like yourself, right? It didn't click when I said it, but it made sense when somebody else said it, somebody who they related to. Maybe it's because they're female, with kids, or maybe it's my brother, he relates more with a male, you know what I mean? And now it's awesome because my sister and I, we can have these conversations of like things that have happened and the beliefs that we both developed from those same scenarios, and we can finally talk about it because we're both operating at the same frequency.
That's great. That's so awesome. I think that will, I think with my mom, she's starting to understand that more, because I'm like telling her, like, I told her straight up, like, this is how I'm going to talk about my life. And even
Mm.
if it doesn't sound, if it sounds crazy, I don't care, because this is how I'm going to talk about it, like, so I'm just
Mm.
letting you know. Sometimes what I say may not be true yet, but I'm just going to speak it as if it is. And even today, I was telling her, like, about my business and things that I'm doing. And she's like, and I'm like, I don't want to treat it like a small business. And she goes, well, it is a small business. And I'm like, no,
Mm.
it's not. It's a business.
Mm.
Business is just a business. It's not a small business. And I'm going to run it as if I were running, a bigger 6-figure business, because
Mm.
that is where I want to grow it to. So I think just having those conversation kind of helps with my mom, if anything, getting her to understand that I'm doing something different, and she's open to that. And
Mm.
then she can have the conversations that she wants to have with other people and not me.
Mm.
So
Yeah. I want to piggyback on this because it's so beautiful. Because it's like kind of going back to what we were just saying, right? They may not see it right now, but like they're gonna come back to all these conversations and she's gonna be like, oh, that made sense why she said that at that time. And I also think it's like, for me personally, when it comes to like especially talking to our parents, and you touched on it too, of like speaking different languages, right? Like if I'm really excited about the new makeup line that came out and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this makeup, da, 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 da. And I'm talking to my brother about it, he's not going to be the same hype or frequency, right? So like there are things that I bring up with my family, like business and stuff like that, but it's not like you'll start to understand who to tell what to, right? Mm-hmm. And something that I've really shifted conversations with my parents, even when I like, because my mom I talk to all the time, but my dad, I talk to him more when I'm in person. But it's like I stopped really like with small talk, and I started more with like I really just wanted to know more about them. And most probably everybody here listening is at the point in their life where maybe you're becoming the parent to your parents, and and right, your parents are coming to you for advice or emotional support. So what I started to do, was asking my mom, like, what was money like when you were little? What was your childhood like? What was your favorite like game growing up? You know what I mean? And it really not only helped me like get to know them better, get to know their stories better, but it also helped me understand, like it also helps them see like they're becoming conscious because they're thinking about these things, right? And that's when they start to become more receptive and understand again how all of those things from the past really do come back up.
Yeah, that's good. And it ties into the whole concept of my podcast is healing with Nama. That's why I call it, healing with Namas, because healing doesn't have to just be I'm going to therapy or I'm journaling all day. There's so many different ways that we can heal, and I won't say need, but I can't think of another word, need to heal from, that we don't even realize is a part of our daily life. Just, money. Who thinks that, money, our mindset about money is something we need to heal from? Not everybody is thinking like that. So to be conscious and aware that, yes, it's something that, we need to think about, and like our past can really affect how we move, even if we don't realize that. So just kind of reconciling that is really important. And I know that you have the 3-day workshop and you have the 31 days of abundance. So can you kind of just maybe like share what people could expect if they were to enroll in those?
Yeah. So we have a couple different programs for different tiers. And so I'll go over pretty much the 3 main ones because we have an academy as well. And then people can pick and choose what feels good to them. And I like to break down the stories behind it of why we created them all, because again, they really just manifested through what the need was. And then it made me think back of like, oh, that's what I wish I would have had when I was in that position. And then just creating that for other people. So the first tier that we have is the 3-day manifesting money workshop. So this is something, if you are super new and you don't know what we're talking about when it comes to manifesting, law of attraction, how to manifest money, right? I always tell people to start there and build your belief. And even if you just want to test the waters a little bit, you can start with a 3-day workshop. It's something that I manifested because one of my videos went viral on TikTok, and everybody was like, how do I manifest money? How do I manifest money? So I literally made step-by-step process how to manifest money and how I did it. And I put it into a 3-day course. And then that course went viral. And so after that went viral, then we started to get more questions, right? Well, how do I keep this going? Well, how come I'm scared to spend the money even when I do get it? Well, how come I can't manifest over this amount, right? And it really dawned on me that the reason why I got stuck in that same position, right, where I would manifest the money that I wanted, but the money didn't change anything. And again, I'd still be so scared, or it'd still be working where I didn't want to work. My physical reality didn't change. And that's why we created the 31 days of abundance, because the 31 days of abundance is going to help you get super clear on those limiting beliefs that we were talking about in the beginning of this. We've incorporated regression hypnosis session. So it's not session, it's just a recording, but again, it'll take you back to those times of where those beliefs started. And it's 31 days of these practices, again, with money and all of the resources to reprogram the subconscious beliefs, and really breaking down why it works, right? Because again, it's not journaling that creates the shift, right? It's the action and energy behind it. And once you start to become very conscious that these are all just tools, the 369 method is just a tool, affirmations are a tool, but you are the one that causes the shift. and you know all of the different ways that you can do it, and you find ways that feel best for you, that's how you're going to stay consistent with it, instead of just saying, hey, you need to do this and that's what's going to fix everything. Nope, nope, nope. So if you are joining the 31 days of abundance, I always tell people, don't join because of the money, because the money will manifest. Absolutely, no doubt. It may not manifest the way that you want it to, right? A lot of people, especially when people are like, they want to prove that this work, like see if it works or not. Like it may manifest through money that you would have spent. It may manifest through a bonus, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be cash. I mean, there's a lot of people get random checks and stuff like that. But I just want everyone to be conscious. Like if you're joining for the money, you're joining for the wrong reason. Like join that program because you really want to understand the underlying subconscious beliefs that you have about money and the community of other people who are operating at that same frequency. And so the next one is the Manifesting Money Academy. So Manifesting Money Academy is what I actually created when I was way back when I just started coaching makeup artists. So specifically, I only had this for people who were makeup artists, and I was teaching them how to apply manifestation when it comes to business. Because yes, yes, there's things when it comes to posting on social media and email marketing and stuff like that. But really, what I was teaching them is that there's so many underlying subconscious beliefs about business that we don't even see. And so think of it as God, universe, source is waiting to give you all of these eyes, right? Let's say you don't necessarily have clients yet, but you have 1 million people watching this or listening to this right now because it went on the radio or a video went viral or a celebrity seen it, right? And the question is, would you be ready, right? So would you be ready? Or would you be overwhelmed, right? If you're overwhelmed with 100 followers on Instagram and people messaging, right? Like imagine having 100,000, not even 100, like 100,000. So it's like, if you really can get super clear on like the fears that we have of being seen, the fears that we have of owning a business, right? I'm scared to pay taxes. I'm scared that I'm going to get sued, right? I'm scared that if I go viral, then, everyone's going to follow me in the grocery store. You know what I mean? Like these are beliefs that have been developed for so long. And I truly believe that if you want to really operate at this highest frequency with this big idea, that you have to, again, just start to become conscious of all the different avenues that where we hold fear and anxiety, and start to release it, and then get clear again on the bigger picture, because it isn't about us, right? Like what we're doing right now isn't about us, because we're going to get to a point where we don't ever have to worry about rent ever again. We don't even ever have to worry about our family being well off, right? But once those things are done, now what, right? Like how can you really help more people than just yourselves and your family, right? The main thing. Because now it's like, okay, how could I help people in Russia right now? How could I help people in a different, all parts of the world? So the drive and the dreams just get bigger. And so the Manifesting Money Academy is just specifically for coaches. So we recently shifted it to a coaching academy instead of just business, and really just setting up people who are maybe doing what it is that we're doing right now, right? People who want to make an impact and they want to share their story and they want to teach other people what they know, because even if they're saying the same thing that you think, oh, everybody else says this and then it's so mainstream, it's really not. And it goes back to what we said about how people are going to hear it from you differently from they hear it from me. And then it goes full circle, because my sister's boyfriend like found your podcast and showed my sister, and then you know what I mean? And that's just really how the world circulates.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. And you're actually the reason why I even created a course. As soon as we had that meeting, I got right off the meeting. We had a Zoom just to talk about the podcast. And I was like, I spent the next week literally spending like hours putting the course together and like making sure it was everything that I wanted it to be and all of those different things. And I'm really proud of the work that I did. I'm really proud of the course. And I think it's really important to just go back to what you said is like the course is not what's going to change your life. I'm not going to do the work for you. She's not going to manifest the money for you, but it's the belief that doing that work is going to help you, or that you're even worthy of getting that help or changing your life, changing your mindset. So I just wanted to point that out. How can people find you?
So the best way that people can find me and interact with me is actually on Instagram. So you can find me at Manifesting Money Podcast on Instagram and on TikTok. It's the same handle. We also have a Manifesting Money Podcast Facebook group. So we like to have that as our little safe community for you to come on, ask questions. You can share your testimonies. Some of those testimonies, we take them and we share them on the podcast. And you can most likely find all of our programs on each one of those platforms. But I always tell people to screenshot and message me on Instagram because we read most of the messages on there first.
That's great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me and agreeing to be on the show. I'm so happy that you were able to carve out some time to be on here and just share about your mission, everything that you're doing. So I really appreciate you being on here.
Well, thank you for having me, love. I appreciate you doing this work and feeling the fear and doing it anyway with this podcast, because there's so many people who are going to benefit because you got out of your comfort zone.
Well, thank you. All right. I will wrap it up there. Thank you so much, Anita.
Bye.
Bye.